want to thank you for tuning in to Moody's Mixer. I hope you enjoyed this new episode. If I go back when I was a child and I wrote certain things down, dreams and goals that I wanted, were any of those goals at a place now where I can take a measurement to see whether or not I made it or not? And so one of the things I had to be honest with myself, and these are some of the conversations I had at every decade of my life. So for me, these were my benchmarks. And I may have had a hard cutoff, my 30s, 40s, and 50s. This is where I am. This is where I need to be. And one of the things that happened when I was turning 60 was, how would I be operating from a work perspective? What would my everyday life look like? Would I still be grinding in the office? Just be honest with myself and say, Corey, where are you? But just like the decathlon, I had to take different events and come up with the score to see where I was. And I had to see what events I was scoring high in and what events were low in. And is the decathlon over? Have I just done 5 or 6 of the events and I got 4 more to go? Well, what I had to realize that some of the events were over. And one of them was how I looked at work, how I spent the majority of my day. So am I at a place that I want to keep working because I want to get a little bit more? Or am I satisfied where I am and say, you know what, it's okay, it don't matter. I learned as I got older and it started making sense. You know, you have team sports, you have individual sports, but they have different elements. You have to approach it differently. There's another element. So this is where we got to start understanding the variables. You'll hear me talk about elements that kind of make up the package. You know, so when I broke down that 400, there were 4 parts to that race. So I had time to make adjustments in that race. And we also have to make these same adjustments in our life, whether it's a team sport or whether it's an individual sport. But what I found another indicator was, is it clocked or is it reaching a particular level or point or closure? See, football, basketball, hockey, they have a clock that dictates when the game is over. So once the game's over, if you're ahead or if you're behind, it's over. You can't say, hey, I'm behind, put 5 more minutes on the clock so I have a chance to catch up. See, that way, guess what? The game never ends, because then your opponent's going to come back and say, well, I want my 5 minutes. So you're constantly going on and on and on and never declare a winner or a loser or a endpoint. And how this is applicable, how I applied this to my life. When I got in my late 50s, you know, it was time for me to start shutting down working the way I work. And we made transitions in our firm. You know, now our services started narrowing down. We only wanted certain types of clients. Just made it easier. Our processes and systems were kind of geared to that. So in athletics, like baseball doesn't have a clock. You got to play 9 innings. Like in tennis. You know, tennis is a sport that it's not a clock. But the clock doesn't dictate when it's over. So I had to start saying, when is my work over? Is there a clock on my work life? And when I look back to my childhood, the clock was running. And that was at this age of 60. This is where I want it to be. Now, I could keep the clock running. I have the power to keep the clock running. Or did I want to say the game's over? The scoreboard says 0-0 on the time, and this is what the score is. So I had to tell myself, this is the score where you are from a professional perspective as it relates to you running this firm. Got to stop the clock. Somebody else got to start doing it, or whatever. Because I don't want to work like that anymore. So I had to say, you know what? This is the scorecard. This is what you got to work with for the rest of your life financially. Or this is what's going to come in for the rest of your life. And these are the hours. And I had to be happy with it. Now, I may not have been happy with it. And that's why it's easy to keep working. Because I can come up with a reason or good excuse why I need to keep working. But I told myself as a little boy, this is it. See, I believe some of the dreams and thoughts and goals I set as a little boy, divine given. And I had to trust what was happening to me or what I was going through as a kid or what I was believing as a kid. I got to believe that was the truth. Do I believe enough that what I've done to this point, that's enough? Now move to do something else. And sometimes it's hard to get off of that boat. That part's over. Now I got time to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So one of the things about retiring, it's not about you don't go to work no more and then you just come home and sit and watch TV or go out and play golf. It's not so much what you're doing as it is what is your freedom. How much power do you have? So you heard me talk about power, but power is not about controlling as it is the power to make the decisions that's best. Thanks for tuning in to Moody's Mixer. I hope you enjoyed the episode you just saw, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless.